to the Week 6 episode of the SmaxTalk Podcast. I am here tonight with some Essentia boys. We got Yelløw and TeaTime. Yelløw, the AD carry, half of the AD carry position for Essentia, and TeaTime, the mastermind behind the screen, the coach as well. How are you two doing tonight?
Pretty good. What about you?
Yeah, I'm doing really good, Smax. Really happy to be here finally.
Yeah, it's been far too long, T. You've been around here for too long. Yeah, we finally got you on. So
I've enjoyed the podcast, so I'm glad to be part of it now.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, we're finally here to talk about the games from Week 6, and we had a lot of really interesting ones. I guess to open things out, what are you guys' opinions of how everything has shaped up to be? We can start with your division actually, since that's the one you guys are closest to.
You want to crack right on into the Cinders Division? I thought we'd save the best till last, but yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, ultimately our division's kind of been, it was a bit of a mess all season, but it's been narrowed down basically now to 3 teams, which are the 3 that I'm happy to see going through into playoffs. No shade at all. But yeah, Essentia Storm, Spellbound, and Imperial Knights will be the 3 teams going through. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm really excited for that outcome as well. I think it's going to be quite nice. But yeah, speaking of which teams are going to make it into playoffs, we don't technically have any division locked quite yet. There could be some miracle stories in specifically Cinders and Rebirth Division, but for Fire and Ashes, it's really still anyone's game, as there's only one team locked in for each of those. So there's still a lot of outcomes that could come across here in Week 7, but yeah, it's really interesting state that Week 6 has left it in, and we were talking a little bit about it before about divisional strengths and like which divisions are looking like the strongest. I think we agreed that Saturday Ashes has fallen down quite significantly.
Yeah, I think Saturday is not that strong anymore. Like originally, I thought it would be they'd have a Kuma Canadas going through, which are a strong team, which still hold that division up a little bit, like a decent amount. Yeah. X1 were looking really good at the beginning. Obviously, had Team Fish Taco, which was a good team last season. I think they changed a lot of their players though.
It's in a different roster if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you had SPK Embers, who had an unbeaten run last season,
right,
as well in their division, and then we had the newcomers, upcoming teams in Jet Black and Frosty, but it seems like everyone's just kind of sunk into this low level of player that everyone isn't a Kuma Katanas.
Yeah, this division is pretty weird. It's like a Kuma Katanas and a clump of average looking teams, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can wait this turns out, I guess, but
right.
Yeah, I've seen some weird looking plays.
Yeah, because at this point we have 2 FF teams, and then Akuma Katana's at the top. They're already locked in first, and then everyone else is in the soup where they can make it potentially. Which is
they're
really
so close.
Yeah,
everyone that didn't FF has a chance of making playoffs, which is concerning.
It's really wild.
The one that will require a miracle will be Team Fish Taco Super Rainbow. I think it's pretty based on the math. Based on the math, it's pretty hard for them to get out.
I'm really entertained by that division. It's a shame that we do have those forfeit teams, but it's definitely spiced things up as far as who's going to make it into playoffs, and I do expect some tiebreakers there. But I think with that we can move into our first division. We can just do them in order as we usually do. Let's go to the Fire Division, in which we have 4 teams that are still fighting for playoffs. Aether is already locked in. They, I believe, cannot be eliminated because they do have the head-to-head against the Kumasides. So they cannot be taken out by Kumasides and therefore cannot be taken out at all because everyone else is in the top 3. So they're locked in for playoffs. We then have LC Gladiators and Wolfpack tied up in the 2nd spot, and then when Akuma Scythes is just barely behind them at 8-4, just 1 win behind. And then past that, everyone else has been eliminated. Unfortunately for Famous Prodigy, they put up a good fight, but they took an 0-2 week last week, and they are now eliminated alongside the other 3 bottom teams in the Fire Division.
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't see more of a fight out of RMU JV because their varsity team is really, really good.
Yeah.
In the PRO, so, but obviously that they're developing talent there, so that's good to.
Yeah, that's one way to say it, I guess. But
but in my eyes, though, this is by far and by like a decent margin the strongest league, the division.
Yeah, teams are quite.
I
good.
don't think that. I think the other three have one to two good teams, but this division really has. I agree that the below, like all four of the top teams are all good.
Yeah, I think any of the top 4 teams would have made it out in 3rd place in your division.
Yeah,
and they probably wouldn't be in the soup in the Saturday division either.
I also think if Akuma Sides in this division had X-Luke all season and Suncarry as well, I think they would have looked a lot. It would have been a lot more decided already. I think there would be a strong second or even first place contender.
Right.
Yeah,
they had
very good
throughout
pieces.
the season.
Yeah. I'll see Gladiators as well. Have pretty good pieces. Griffin is, he's insane. Literally, like he just goes in nonstop. I don't know what the hell is going on with this man, but he just doesn't stop going in, dude.
Right.
But he's good. He's good mechanically. He seems pretty. I don't know. He seems pretty solid, honestly.
You can't talk about this team without talking about Griffin, because I think he's the best jungler in the league at this point. I was already considering it before, but I think he is definitively at this very moment.
I think he makes or breaks the game for his team, but that's a good thing in this case because he's good enough to actually carry the games.
Right.
He's got a good mid laner as well, so the duo is pretty good. The bot lane, I don't know. I haven't seen much of them. They looked okay, I guess. So serviceable, I guess.
Right.
That's all you need from them, honestly. This is not a bot lane meta, unless you're playing Aphelios.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or the new Senna support, like.
Oh yeah, I've tried that in solo queues.
I've been trying it a little bit too. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of success with it with Ornn as the tank with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty good because his wave clear is also really nice.
Yeah.
So
Ornn was one of the flicks we were thinking of using. I'm glad to hear that you also had some fun with it.
Yeah.
Ornn, Galio, and I think Tom Kench.
I think Tarek's good with it too.
The other one was Swain. I think Swain might be okay with it.
Yeah. Do we
I think that's mostly Laxon bias.
Yep. It might be.
100%.
but it's true. It definitely is. But Swain does really well with gold anyway.
Yeah.
And having a kind of damage dealing support, like you're damned if you focus the Swain, you're damned if you focus the kind of the center as well. Is
right.
Kind of, it's nice to have that. Whereas at least when it comes down to something like Tom Kench center, it's kind of like, even if Tom Kench is not going to just one shot you, whereas there's something like a Swain or even an AP Galio could potentially do that. So
right.
Yeah. I'm curious. Do you guys think Wolfpack gets out before Akuma Sides? Like, do you think Akuma Sides makes top 3? Because I think they're better than Wolfpack.
I think honestly. They are too. The problem is right now that
head-to-head?
Akuma Sides, the head-to-head is going to be decided this week, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's gonna be a really important game to watch, and important for both teams. That's really what's gonna make or break this, I think. And then there may be a tiebreaker too, which would be really interesting. But the main thing to notice here is that Wolfpack are currently on their longest win streak yet. They're 4 wins in a row. However, it's against the bottom 4 all in a row.
Yeah.
Which is really important because their losses are not only just to top teams, but they also took a loss to Famous.
Okay.
So that's going to be really, really important moving forward.
Did they beat Akuma Sides the first time around?
They did, yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious.
But Akuma Sides is now upgraded, basically. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a lot harder for them now.
And Akuma Sides took their jungler too.
Yeah.
Which is the main thing.
As a caster, you see that, right? So the bans for each team, like for Wolfpack precisely, they've got triple lift in the bot lane.
Yep.
He doesn't play Aphelios. He doesn't play MF. He doesn't play Senna. Do they just ban it every time, or they just take a hit every time? I don't understand. Like, how does this team make it through draft without losing every time?
Yeah.
They don't. They don't win drafts ever. Is the thing.
Yeah, that's a big issue for me.
That's one of those things where you can see why Wolfpack is successful against the bottom teams, but you can also see why they're not successful against the top teams. Like that, if you had to identify like the thing that would probably be it. Like if you can punish this team in draft, I think they won't be very successful.
Right.
So this week, this best of one, like I've always said, one thing about best of ones is you never know what can happen. So maybe they pull it out of the bag, but I think most likely I'd probably give it to Akuma Sides, and that makes it a lot harder for Wolfpack to get out.
Yeah. Well, they still, if they win their other matchup as well, which is against LC Gladiators, which again, gonna be a tough one. They would still like, assuming that both teams win their other game, or lose their other game, in fact, then there still would be a tiebreaker to be had, which would also favor the team that beat them, favor the team that won, which, you know.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in Wolfpack, honestly.
Well,
from their game versus CSU, from what I saw, if CSU had any idea how to play the game, they would have won. Like
I think
they're true so hard. So
I think one of the good things from the Wolfpack perspective is that this is their time to like decide like, are we a good team or not, or like to show whether they're a good team or not.
Yeah.
And like going into these matches, if they can beat both teams going into playoffs, I think they'll be in a really, really good spot. So this is like kind of determining factor where like, are they good or not? And if they're not, they're going to lose and they're going to be out. If they are, they're going to be good, and they're going to be good going into playoffs too, because they're going to be up against the caliber of teams that we're playing against in playoffs.
Yeah.
And need to beat.
The really interesting comparison I think you can make with Wolfpack is to LC Gladiators, where you can't talk about Wolfpack without talking about Triple Lift and how he often is the reason that they win, whether he's playing a good champion or not. He's not playing good champion. And then for LC Gladiators and Griffin actually does play the meta, and he plays around his team as well. It's not that like, the team lives or dies by him. I mean, they do in another way, but he can play a little bit more supportive as well. We've seen him play Zac, which has been really solid too. He's pulled out the Trundle. It hasn't looked amazing, but to be fair, that Trundle game was against Aether, which is the only team above them.
Just give him carries, in my opinion. Like, his Rex side looks very good. I haven't seen. Does he play Lee Sin? He plays Lee Sin for sure. Yeah. There's no reason for him not to play it.
I wonder if he can play Nidalee, because I feel like he'd be a good Nidalee player.
Oh yeah, actually.
With his play style.
That could be
I
interesting.
feel like he reminds me of Mike Young. Glory days Mike Young. P1 Mike Young.
Yeah, the good Mike.
Yeah.
Before
not the
TSM
bad, not the bad one.
Hey, if you want, you can come to Essentia and you can become a TSM jungler. You can be our Arcadian. We've already got a Grig and a Mike Young. We could use an Arcadian.
There you go.
Well.
All right.
Shall we talk about Aether Esports? Because I think they're really, really good.
Yeah, I think they're very good. Yes.
I think if I had to say, I'd say they're the best team in the division. In the whole league, in fact.
In the whole league?
Yeah, they are very balanced as a team, I think.
I think they have... I think a lot of that comes from... so this is kind of a bit of personal bias here, but I know Jack, Aether Calibrum quite well. And he's a really good player for a start, which is great. But he's also a really good leader too. And like the kind of environment that he like is able to create in a team that has good players is going to be really, really deadly going into playoffs. And just having that kind of team cohesiveness alongside the talent they have can be really, really strong going into playoffs. Yep. But I also don't understand why he's even getting to play Aether. Like, I don't understand. I actually just don't understand how this is happening. Like, if you're on blue side, you have to pick it or you ban it, and if you're on red side, you have to ban it.
Right.
And that's like the bottom line there. Like, people think they could outwit the draft here. They're just being really, really stupid, to be honest. And like, then you're gonna force him onto the Ezreal, or you're gonna force him onto something else that, you know, I think that he's not as good at. Maybe he'll whip out the Jhin in playoffs because his Jhin is
really good.
Give me Jhin.
Yeah, this is a team to 100% be watching out for. I would put them in top 2. I think it's a very close top 2.
With Akuma Katanas is your other one?
With the Katanas. I think they play very differently though. So if they meet up at any point in the playoffs, I will be there to watch the whole thing, and that's gonna be a really, really good best of 5 for sure. It could end up being really one-sided too, if like one team prepares enough for that playstyle, because I don't think they've branched out too much in terms of what playstyles either team is playing. It's just very different. Like Aether is very controlled, risk averse. You could say that they were a little bit slower paced as well, unless they are like just stomping one of these bottom teams, which has happened. And yeah, they're the team that's still picking like the Sejuanis and stuff, the more supportive junglers, not really getting away with early game jungle plays all that much. They can, but yeah, I think it's a really, really interesting dynamic that they've got.
Team.
What'd you say?
They are a Ornn team, basically.
I mean, if you're not an Ornn team, then I don't know. You should probably be an Ornn team right now.
Everyone needs to be an Ornn team.
And you should probably be able to play Ornn in jungle, mid, and support. Otherwise, you're also really trolling.
Yeah, you should probably be an Ornn team. If you're a team out there listening right now on patch 10.4 and you're not an Ornn team, you should be an Ornn team.
You're asking to lose. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to lose to an Ornn team, or you're gonna have to ban it.
Ornn diff.
Yeah, Ornn diff is pretty big. Did you guys? So the results for this week is actually really, really funny. Ornn won 2 out of the 3 games that he was picked, and the only game that he was picked that he ended up losing was because Shenzi's Frenzies picked it.
That's just unfortunate. Okay.
That's unlucky.
And they also had a Yuumi player on their team that didn't know how to play Yuumi, but they actually still almost won that game. Like they had.
I saw the Yuumi player. So you were flaming him super hard for the Comet, but actually
he didn't take Comet. He took Airy.
Oh, was this another? I might have been thinking of a different game. You flamed someone super hard.
I flame everyone's Yuumi that maxes Q because that's really bad. Pros are doing it too, so like I can't really blame people too much. But if you're a Yuumi player, then you know that Q is a useless ability.
Oh, it was Spartans who did Comet.
Oh yeah, you're right.
In our game. Anyway, let's stick to the division we're on, shall we?
Yeah.
What do we think about? Well, is this division wrapped up then? Do we think that it's really on Wolfpack to secure or go out?
Yeah, I'd really like to see Akuma sites.
I would as well, because I think Wolfpack is too one-dimensional to have an interesting best of 5.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, I think most teams at our level, at least, are one-dimensional. You kind of have to be, though.
But they're one-dimensional in a really bad way.
Yeah, they're one-dimensional in a vain way, which is not good.
It's very bad. Yeah, I wanna preview the matchups a little bit for this week because they're very, very interesting. First matchup doesn't matter too much. There are no like top 4 teams playing each other. But the other 3 games are going to be really important. We got Wolfpack, LC Gladiators. So that's really important for Wolfpack to win. If they don't, then
it's over, right?
Yeah, they might not even get a tiebreaker against Akuma sides because Akuma are playing Cleveland State in that same time spot. So they might not even get a tiebreaker if they lose to LC Gladiators, and they already lost to them before, so that's also really important. Our next match is going to be Akuma sides Wolfpack, so that's going to be the decider for 3rd seed. Pretty much either way, it's going to be. The only way it isn't is if Akuma loses to CSU and Wolfpack beats LC Gladiators, which I really doubt that situation will happen, but it could. So that could just take the stakes out of that game entirely. I hope it doesn't. Nothing against CSU, but I hope that Akuma sides wins that game so that the stakes are still intact for that game. That's going to be really important. And then our final one is Aether LC Gladiators, which would decide 1st seed.
Seeding, yeah.
That's true. I forgot about that. That's a possibility,
Aether are locked in for playoffs, but they're not locked in first. So that could happen. So for that to happen, Aether would have to beat FG and LC would have to beat Wolfpack.
Who won the first time around between the 2 teams?
Aether won the first time.
Actually, who beat Aether?
So the teams that have beat Aether, Wolfpack won the very first game of the entire split against them. And the next one was an upset by CSU.
Interesting. Okay.
So Cleveland State Vikings have done it once before, so maybe they'll do it again against Akuma.
Yeah, it could happen. That'd be pretty wild.
That's a scary thought, though, to think that could happen.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think the jungle matchup would be interesting against LC Gladiators and Aether, because you have this kind of supporting jungler who likes to just play slow and let it so that you got Pappy Chulo and the mid and Jack coming out in the late game, and then you've obviously got Griffin on the other side. He's going to potentially take over. So
yeah,
that'll be a really interesting matchup.
Last time Griffin picked Trundle, so.
Maybe
he doesn't do that again. Then that's gonna be a lot more interesting than it was the first time. So,
but even if he does pick Trundle, it was just the Warrior game. He went Warrior against this team.
I think I don't remember. I think the Warrior Trundle was in Saturday Division. I think.
I'm not sure. But either way, if he builds it right, if he goes Merc Treads, Cinderhawk, and Zeeks, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
From what I've seen,
you can still hard carry games with that build, like having an AOE slow effect around you when you activate Zeeks. Like infinite resistances and the pillar, which you should be maxing second. It can be really, really, really oppressive.
Yeah. From what I've seen, Aether needs to survive maybe 20 minutes of the game, and I think they're fine afterwards because Griffin and LC Gladiators as a whole, they seem to be very good at early game. Once mid game hits, the shit hits the fan. Dude, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but they just go all in, and no matter what happens, they're gonna keep fighting. Yeah. So. Yeah, if they manage to slow down the pace, then they might just be able to.
That's what happened last time. So it's a really, really cool dynamic between those two teams, and one that I think will be shared if they do play Akuma Katanas too. So this is a kind of a preview match to that. Very similar too, because they both have the Gen Z junglers, Griffin and Doubtful, 13 and 14-year-old. Yep. They're very, very young. Yes, Griffin. They're both like prodigies. I think.
Really?
I mean, for how young they are, yes. I was not diamond when I was 13.
I was gold.
Griffin hit diamond 1 when he's 13. So that's I would count that as a prodigy. I don't know.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's very cool.
That's pretty cool.
It's early season too, so maybe he climbs even further later. We'll have to see. Hopefully he doesn't during this split, so we can keep watching him. Selfishly for myself, I hope that he doesn't. But maybe after,
Are we allowed to climb above D1 once playoffs start?
There's some rule for that, yeah.
Something like that. Should we go to the next division?
So before we do that, I want to mention that Aether's support Curry asked who's going to come out of the Fire Division besides Aether's already locked. We were already pretty much guaranteed to talk about that for here. So I appreciate the question. We answered it a little bit.
Akuma and LC Gladiators are my two going through.
Yeah, I agree. Not in that order though. I would flip it. But
yeah.
What about you, Yelløw?
Which teams are we talking about? Sorry, I was looking at
for Thursday Division. So who are your playoff teams for Thursday?
Like I said, I'd kick probably Wolfpack out of there and put Akuma sites instead of them. So Aether, LC Gladiators, and Akuma sites. All
right. And then that also answers our question from JB Emma. Will Triplift carry his team to playoffs?
No.
No. I also want to disclaimer this. Triplift actually doesn't carry the games that they win half the time. Half the time it's Ryanek.
He just doesn't
Ryanek is super good.
Yeah. So Triplift isn't even the main carry of this team most of the time.
Yeah.
So he definitely gets a lot of attention because he plays a terrible champion.
Yes.
But
especially from me.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move over to the Friday division.
The best division.
The Essentia Soulbound division. No flame to Imperial Knights there. I'm really glad that they are on paper going to make it. The only way that they can't is if they lose both of their games and then they lose a tiebreaker to SPK Defiance.
Which
now,
could very well happen.
It could happen, but I wanna talk about this just a little bit. So we know that they play against you, Essentia.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably going to be a loss, because you've only lost to Soulbound Tsunami.
Yep.
So that is likely.
It could be a good game though. Last time we played against Imperial Knights, I think we underestimated them big time, and we ended up falling behind like super far, and they only lost the game because they got out macroed super hard.
Yeah.
And it seems like in the last couple of weeks they've been like putting together, like in the last 3 weeks they put together good wins, and it feels like if they have improved their macro and we make the same mistakes as last time, we're gonna lose it this time. But I don't think we will. But maybe that's just bias. But still, it could be a good game. So I'm not writing them off completely in that one.
Right.
But what I am going to say is they're definitely going to win against Tempest. So it doesn't really matter for them.
Yeah.
if they
I wanna ask a question here. If they lose, so hold on. Which game would be more difficult? Tempest Gaming or SPK Defy?
Tempest Gaming for the fear factor.
SPK sucks.
I think the fear factor coming out of Tempest Gaming, you can't lose to Tempest. So I think that would be a more difficult game.
Yeah,
The
I'll do it for my boy.
Fear, the natural fear that Tempest Gaming gives you when you're playing against them. Like, come on, guys, you just can't lose to these guys.
Yeah, I think it's more being scared of losing to a bad team.
They have their own threat. Which is what happened to SPK. They got so scared of losing to Tempest that they lost.
That they lost to Tempest.
Yeah.
And now they're in this situation.
Yeah, and like this is what Tempest does to teams, dude. Think of the power they have right now.
Frightening.
Like Tempest Gaming has this immense power in their hands.
Right.
Like they can make or break teams, dude. Honestly.
Yeah. They could potentially end the split 7-7.
And they've won one game and they're going to be 7-7.
Maybe they could be 7. They could be 6-8. But
yeah.
We're. Oh, what a time to be alive.
Yes.
With Tempest Gaming in this division.
Yeah, Tempest Gaming is like the Thanos of the Cinders Division there, for real.
Yeah, but yeah,
they're
unless...
the gatekeepers between the forfeit teams and the playoff teams.
Yeah. The only playoff team, the only team above them that isn't going to make playoffs is the one that lost to them.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They are the deciding factor.
I think if we lose, we just luck 3 people at a time. Wait, yeah, okay. So Imperial Knights ends up 3rd. We end up 2nd. Sobon goes 1st.
Yeah, if you lose, then
the
it's locked right away.
Yeah.
So,
unless a major fuck up happens, I think Imperial should be 3rd.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that match actually matters a lot to you guys as well, because it would lock you 1st if you win.
Yeah.
And it would lock you 2nd if you lose right away, because there wouldn't be a tiebreaker. Like I mentioned, the only matches you guys have lost were against Soulbound. So
yeah, I guess Soulbound are just our OTA glacials.
True.
That's a reference to last season when I think the champions Akuma Blades only lost 2 games all season, but they were both the same team.
Yeah.
Oh.
Until the very last day to Sicko Sands, but everyone forgets about that.
Oh, did they? Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But you know, Sicko Sands,
okay.
whatever.
Yeah. Well, they're having fun in Pura this time. So.
Yeah, they have picked up a few series wins, so good on them.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's an entirely different league here.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. So yeah, for the teams that are going to playoffs, Essentia and Soulbound Tsunami. There's just the question now that the second seed team on paper right now is the only team to have defeated the first seed team. Does that make the second seed team better than the first seed team? I think you guys are very biased in this situation.
No. When we played them, I think they were. I think they were better than us. In the second time around that we played them, first time around we didn't respect them at all. So, like, I don't really know what happened. The first time around it was like they were like 1-4 when we played them, I think, or like 1-3 or something, because it was really early on.
They were.
And we were
already
like, this is a bottom team.
Yeah.
Division team, and we didn't really go into it like thinking too much. And they changed all their players going into the week against us as well.
Yeah.
They like cut Aries, I think, or something like that.
Yep.
And we didn't respect them at all, so I wasn't really like, and it was our fault because we went into that just like complacent. The second time around, though, we were expecting them to be good, and they were better than us. And I think that part of it was us just they match up well against us. Like, there's a few things about them that just make it difficult. Plus, it's a best of one, and I think Soulbound's playstyle is very coin flippy. So they end up with a kind of they win. They either beat themselves or they beat the other team. So I don't know how well that will serve them going into playoffs. But yeah, at the time though, they definitely were better than us when we played them the second time around. To be fair to them.
Fair enough. All right.
But do I think they are the better team as a whole? I don't know.
I don't know. Best of 5 is a different thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be very different. It'll be interesting to see if they have to go through the play-ins and quarterfinals before they face any good teams, which I think will be unlikely because there'll be a lot of good teams that'll have to sneak by. I don't know how far they'll go, to be honest.
Yeah, we've seen them lose recently as well. So I guess I'm not in this league, obviously. I don't. Unless
we don't bring up losses in other leagues, though, do we? Yelløw?
Yeah, true. But they're not undefeatable. Is what I'm trying to say. Basically.
Yeah, I know a team that lost in the same round as.
No, I don't. I actually don't. So we should just really move on.
I don't know what you're talking
about. Okay.
But yeah, Soulbound and Essentia, I think both teams going into playoffs will be pretty scary. I think they could take out any of the teams from the other divisions, given if the cards are in their favors.
Would any third seed team beat you or Soulbound? So the options for that are Wolfpack or Akuma. Scythes, that is. Skip Saturday for now. For Sunday, it would be OTA Glacials.
No. Okay, I can tell you. I don't know if I should leak scrims, but we've scrimmed against OTA Glacials a lot, and we're consistently better than them. But Akuma Scythes, I think now that they picked up Fluke, and if some guy's playing or their other jungler, I think they look a lot different now. So I think they would beat us with Fluke in at the moment. They could.
You have been known to get reverse swept by AKM X Fluke.
Yeah, we're 6-3 versus AKM X Fluke right now. So 3 wins, 6 losses, which is pretty tragic. But
yeah. He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for Saturday it would. I mean, I don't think you're gonna lose to any of those teams. I think we can just write that off.
Saturday to me is looking like the weakest division, apart from
Apart from Akuma, yeah.
Look at your face.
But I think Imperial Knights will be a good one. I think that would be like a. Is Imperial Knights a playoff team? If they are, they could beat us, but it's hard to tell right now. So.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to worry about that though, because unless it's the finals, which it'd be a tough sell to put Imperial Knights in the finals, I think.
Yeah, do we think they would be like in top 4 in other divisions, Imperial Knights?
I think they started too slowly from my perspective.
They wouldn't be top 4 on Thursday. Actually, would they? What do you guys think?
I'm not even sure, honestly.
No, I don't think so. I think they'd be around the FG Prodigy level.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
So I actually think that Imperial Knights are the slightly more refined version of Wolfpack. And what I mean by that is
they're the same thing, but they just have a good AD carry. Is that what you're saying?
They're very similar, where their AD carry is on paper their best player, and their mid laner sometimes just pops off and carries on things like Kiana, or he just macros really bad and throws the game like Kiana.
Yeah, his macros is so bad.
But
he's pretty decent now.
Yeah,
but he used to be pretty garbage.
He's a really good assassin player in the mid lane, which is really scary.
Kiana.
Yeah, he plays Echo too. His Echo's really nice. I really like that team.
Babs is a pop-off player that needs to know what to do with his lead.
Oh, he played Akali too.
If he knew how to build Echo correctly, he would be a really good Echo player. I cannot respect a man who builds Ludens on Echo first. I've tried it. I don't know, honestly. I tried to get this to work. I tried to get this to work so many times. I always think okay, Ludens gives CR, gives mana, it gives extra burst damage. How could it not be good on Echo? But the reality is that the value of the HP that you get from Protobelt is so high for Echo.
Yeah, he's a melee champion, right?
Yeah, he's a melee champion. And when you're playing Echo jungle, you go Rudic and you can get away with not having the HP because you're most of the time around about level 12, up to level 12, you're just one-shotting people. But if you've ever tried to play Echo jungle and skip Protobelt and just gone straight into Lich Bane, you realize how bad this is. Because then you get into those late game team fights and you just get one shot. Even if you have Merc Dreads and CDR, whatever, and more tenacity, you're still just gonna get one shot. And you really need that extra tiny bit of health on this champion because that makes the difference between getting your ult off and not.
I think Silas is the same way.
Yeah.
So those two items together.
Ludens Echoes.
Yeah, I really like on both of those champions going Protobelt into Ludens, but you can sit on the Lost Chapter if you have enough gold for it first back. So
yeah, I think Echoes slightly different in that he synergizes slightly better with Lichbane than
right.
Silas does. I think if Silas had better synergy with Lichbane, then it would be. But yeah, Silas, you definitely give credit about Ludens, and then Echo, definitely don't go Ludens.
Small tangent aside, I think Imperial Knights.
Sorry, that just it really gets me.
I understand. So for Imperial Knights, they're fighting for the third spot. Also worth noting, if Imperial Knights wins both of their games,
they could be first. Actually,
there would be a tiebreak situation. So
could they be first?
Yes, they could. So
Could they have a tiebreaker against us as well?
They are 1-1 with Soulbound Tsunami.
And they're 1-1 with us as well.
Wait,
so
there would be a three-way tiebreaker, wouldn't
there? Oh yeah, if we lose.
Yeah.
True.
How does that work? Oh, they probably just play against Soulbound, and if they beat Soulbound, we go third.
No, we play against them as well, and then we decide
there would be some mini bracket there.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be them versus Soulbound. The winner plays against us. No, they play against us if they lose. If they win, they get first. We get third, I think. Anyways, it's kind of hard to imagine. But...
It's really weird, but
I do want to say sorry. Carry on. I'm gonna say it afterwards.
Just know that if Imperial Knights wins both their games, then we have 3 teams at 11-3, and things are gonna get weird. So that's worth noting. Other than that, though, I think they're gonna beat Tempest, and even if they don't, I think they're gonna beat SPK. And even if they don't, I think SPK is gonna lose round 1.
There's no way that SPK gets through.
SPK bad.
It's just it's mathematically improbable. But the one thing I wanted to say though was about Soulbound actually. So Soulbound actually, when they get their jungler back, best total CN, and if they put Steel City up in the top lane, I think they'll actually be a much better team than what we've seen of them so far in the bracket. I think that'll be a massive improvement for them. So given those two things changing, going into playoffs, they will be one of the top 3 or 4 teams if they go with that lineup.
Yeah. So then the ideal roster would be Steel City, Best Turtle. Would you put North mid or AD?
North mid and then Noah Joe AD.
And then Core Havoc.
Havoc, yeah. Okay. I think if they go with that lineup, they'd be a lot stronger going into playoffs than if they don't.
Okay.
For ungodpronounced reason.
Yeah. Because then the Backwood kid would be playing.
Yeah, and I would not be smart. No, I'm kidding. No blame to him. But I do think Steel City is very good as a top laner, and like when he's down 5 levels against Striker in the jungle, then you know he probably shouldn't be in that role. So if you put him in, and he's a good player, like he gets by because he's a good player. So like even if he's not jungling very well, he's still like playing League of Legends well. If that makes sense, I don't know if that correlates. But so yeah, if you have him playing a role he's comfortable on as well, then the team will be a lot more enabled, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I would probably out jungle people in a plat league.
Yeah,
I don't play jungle.
Yeah, so it's like Tyler 1. That's why he's able to get to Diamond 2.
That's a better comparison. Yes.
Yeah.
So. I'm really hoping that they have a more defined roster, even though it's really entertaining that they don't.
Is it?
I mean, it's as a spectator, just like not knowing what's going on. If that were me, then I would be like, oh wow, they're just changing the roster all the time, and I never know who's gonna play. But I don't know who's playing which position, so for the top 20 list, I have them all as fill players. Except for Core Havoc. I actually have Core Havoc as a support player. So
that's fair.
Yeah, he is very good.
Yeah.
For having laned against him, he is very good.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of Soulbound Tsunami, we got a question from Griffin from Lost Collective. How far will Soulbound Tsunami go? And I like the question a lot. So I think this team is really, really good. I think they're very mechanically sound. They probably have at least a handful of the best mechanical players in the league as a whole.
Yep.
how far does that get you? Well, if you're Go Next Gaming, then it gets you to 3rd place. For last split. So
that was toxic, Smax. That was actually kind of toxic.
What the hell, dude?
I mean, it's kind of true.
Yeah, I think if they play against a team that's not a good 5-man unit, if you know what I mean, like they don't have that much synergy. Like, for example, if they play against a team that relies on mechanics, like they do in a way, because I don't think they play macro that well right now as a team. I think they went out. If they play against I don't know, a Kuma and Katanas, I think they get R-stumped. Honestly, I don't think they.
I think they'll make it to. I think it depends. I think if in the first round, if they put up against the Thursday team, they're going to go out in the first round.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If they go up against a Friday team, they'll definitely get through and they'll go to quarters, and then it depends who they're up against.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think you can go up against a Friday team in that round.
A Thursday team.
Oh yeah, if they play a Thursday team, they'll lose. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't think they'll play. Yeah, so if they play against LC Gladiators or Akuma Size, assuming those are the two that go through, they'll lose. I think. Same thing for Original. I think they beat OTA Glacials though. So I think that's something where like this is no flame to OTA Glacials, but I think that
I think their strength don't match.
I think that if you have Steel City against Axum, I think that's where you might find that actually that'll be a matchup to watch. Steel City versus Axum if they're playing in the top lane against each other.
Yeah,
might be
they're both mechanically pretty good, but I think that if Steel City gets a lead, it'll be over because Axum's mental might let him down a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. But I think given if they come up against a Friday team, they'll be going through to the quarters. But if they're going to be alive until they come up against the Thursday team.
Yeah,
essentially.
Fair enough.
Cool. All right. With that, any closing thoughts here on the Friday division?
SPK bad.
SPK bad. Very nice is in most likely, and Tempest Gaming is very frightening.
Yeah. Tempest Gaming are Thanos.
Yep.
Yes.
So speaking of SPK bad, let's move over to the Saturday division. I'm pretty sure I made that same transition last episode too.
That SPK is bad as well.
That SPK is also bad. So interestingly enough.
Did you? Oh, I don't want to know. Can we talk about that? No, we probably can't. Never mind.
What is it?
What do you want to talk about?
They cut one of their players because you said SPK bad.
Wait, because I said that? Their top laner's gone.
Their trash talked the team and he got kicked.
Unlucky.
Well, now you all know why we are not on SPK Ember.
Is SPK Ember's top laner? This is now SPK Ember's without their top laner as well now, right?
Yeah, Deku I think was his name.
Yeah, so Deku is no longer with SPK Embers, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
So,
unfortunately for him.
I mean, yeah, that's looking rough, bro.
I think
bad for them, dude.
I think he's their best player.
Well, he's gone now.
He was their best player, I think.
Deku LFT right now. So
do we know who's taking his spot?
Sir Rizel.
Oh my. Okay. Well, this guy. Okay, this team is doomed. It's over. Never mind. SPK very bad now.
It's a rough spot to be in.
Yeah.
So how do we want to? Should we work our way down for this one? Start with the Kuma.
Oh yeah.
Well, we want to give light onto how many teams can still make playoffs because there are 6 of them.
There's so many of them.
5. Well, 6.
Well, yeah. One of them's locked in.
Yeah.
Akuma's locked in. There are then 5 teams that are fighting for the remaining 2 spots.
The only people who can't get to playoffs who are in this division are the 2 teams that FF'd.
Yep. So those are EQ Lightning, Red Hair Pirates. Those are eliminated. But we have Jet Black, Ferocity both at 8 and 5 due to the FFs. We have X1 Brotherhood, SPK Embers at 7 and 5, and then we have Team Fish Taco Supreme at 7 and 6 again due to the FFs. So this is really, really an interesting spot, and I am pretty confident in one team to make it out of the soup. But the rest.
Please don't say Jet Black.
It is Jet Black.
No.
Okay.
No, I think Jet Black will make it out.
I think they will. I think they're going to beat Ferocity.
You know when you have a bowl of soup and you have that one crouton that just tastes really good? That's Jet Black.
Yeah, exactly. True.
Jesus.
The
Okay.
katana is a piece of breaded butter that you have on the side there. That's just
Yes.
completely really nice.
It's just way better. The soup is definitely like
yeah, the soup is
not
bad.
the restaurant strong suit. You know.
You have that
the leftover
buttered,
soup.
the buttered warm bread that you have and you dip in the soup. That's okay.
Yeah. Akuma katanas, real good. Keep being the buttered bread.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk about Akuma katanas real quick because I think most everyone who's watched this team would agree that this is one of the premier teams to watch out for going into playoffs. I personally have them as my favorite to win, and that is mostly because how clean they look and how decisive they look too. They're very quick to act on most every situation that I've seen them in, which is very exciting to watch. And I think that they all have the go button at the same time, and they know what the go button is for the other members of their team, which I think is really, really valuable, and it's something that has become really apparent because this team has stuck together since last split. It's front and center to me because I watched them play last split too. They played the split before as well, but I was not there for that one. And while I know a lot of these teams have stuck together for quite some time, it's really front and center for me watching this team, and there's definitely a reason that they are well beyond every other team in this division.
So there are three of the playoff teams from last season who were unchanged, which were essentially unchanged, bar one player changing maybe, and that would be three of the teams that are currently first place in the divisions, which is us, with largely unchanged apart from a couple additions.
Yep.
And then we have Go Next Gaming, which is also largely unchanged, which is also top of their division, and then this team. So do you think that there's a huge advantage to being like having been together for a long time? Because one of the things you mentioned was decisiveness, and personally, I find that things like that come off having more comfort around the people that you're playing with.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think
that's where like you see that players who have been together for a long time will have an advantage in that regard. But do you think that as it gets into playoffs, the teams around them that get more comfortable with each other will potentially then be able to challenge them? Because this team also, apart from the top laner, who is a massive improvement based off what they had last season, was the team that was 3-0'd by Go Next Gaming in playoffs. So do we think that if they come up against another good team who's had now an entire season to get to know each other, they might struggle? Like something like Aether, for example?
Well, I think that most of Aether's roster has been together for a bit too. So maybe that's not the best example, but let's take LC Gladiators, which it's not exactly fair because they do look a margin underneath Aether, but for the sake of the team cohesion thing, I think they would still, just because they've spent this split refining that as opposed to another team building it. So my main example that I point to and look at for something like that is G2. Not that this is anywhere near as competitive as LEC, but
G2.
I think
we can compare it to LCS if you'd like. That would probably be
better. Yeah.
Team Liquid.
But yeah, I think that if you were gonna pick a team and say this is the G2 of PRL, it would be this team because they are. I mean,
but look at what they're playing against.
I understand that.
Fair to like?
I understand. It's definitely more like Cloud9 playing against the soup of LCS teams because they actually are good.
True.
They actually are good. There actually are good teams in LEC. So that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I think that's actually really, really important. But also, I think they're just mechanically very, very good, and they have played a number of play styles, and they've still retained that same X factor through all of it, because we've seen them play the Rengar Ivern, which, first of all, they're the only team doing that, and they've won every game with it.
There's also no pro teams doing it as well, so it must be OP, and they just have really discovered it. You know, it's like no one could ever come to that. Sorry.
the reason that this is working is because the perfect example is their game against Jet Black. Klexo,
it's not gonna work against a good team. Like,
no.
I hate to break it.
It might, but it's working against these teams because Klexo is out farming Hiccup on Ivern. Like, what?
A division where Jet Black is second has to be garbage.
Okay,
no flame.
No flame.
I actually disagree with that.
I also disagree with that. Jet Black is massively improved.
Yes.
Since last season.
Okay. Let me ask you this then: how is Emma doing? Like in game.
Emma's doing fine, actually.
She's doing
really?
Yeah.
Really? Because I've never seen her actually lane.
Emma's the glue that holds this team together, man. Like, I don't know why you...
I'm not talking about comms, I'm talking about gameplay.
I think Emma is doing perfectly fine for the champions that she is playing. Whether or not she could be playing different champions is another thing. And there definitely are better champions for the situation, but...
Because I don't think she can play engaged champions.
I agree.
Enchanters, mostly, I think.
Yeah. Her go-to is Morgana. And then she plays other enchanters with it, like her Soraka as well.
She's like the triple lift of supports, I guess.
Kind of.
I was gonna make that comparison.
Yeah.
Except triple lift is better.
I think it could cause him some trouble in draft against good teams.
I agree.
Yep.
We're coming from, but I do think that when she is playing them and when she has okay matchups, she's doing fine. So
Well, I'm surprised and I apologize.
Take it back.
The biggest
I'm sorry.
thing.
I'm kidding.
The biggest thing that I point to as being really, really good for this team is that they have a much more stable set of solo laners. I think Hit 'em Up Rob is very, very good. He's a weak side player, but he's also a side lane player too. Like I think he scales up and plays weak side early game and then scales up into being a solo laner, a side laner really well. I think he's very good at that. And I think Hiccup and Cam can ravage through mid game very, very well. And they've shown that to be a really good strategy for them too. I think their draft, like you're mentioning, I think their draft sucks. It's really bad. But
I think they need Cam to be ahead.
Yeah, I think when Cam is not able to gank, like if Cam has a gank that goes south, that is a really, really bad sign for this team because their champions just don't really work anymore because they don't really have all that much cohesion together and they can't really make a comeback happen.
That's just being a bad team then. I don't know if your weakness is that exploitable, then I don't see you going.
I would agree that it does not put them as like a top team at all, but I would still have a lot of confidence in them to be able to beat beat Ferocity for one. And I think there's that's a big reason as to why they are 8-5 now, likely 9-5 at the end of this week. Because
can we talk about Ferocity?
We can
talk about this team.
So, Shut Boomer is leaving.
Oh.
So is Orbit.
Yep, Orbit's gone. So,
I don't understand this. They put this guy on Tom Kench Braum duty all season when he's playing well on those champions, and then from what I heard, okay, they accuse him of not being like a playmaker. It's like, how are you gonna put this guy on Tom Kench and Braum and expect him to carry you? Like, this is not right. Like, you can't.
What?
It doesn't work like that.
I did not know that.
Boom. Yeah, this team is now boom this week. In the last week, this team has gone boom. So, I think. Should we talk about the math of this division of how you said it was going to pan out?
Yeah.
So either Jet Black or Ferocity are going to go through. I'm going to give it to Jet Black now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Agreed.
Whoever wins that one is in.
Yeah. And then the other one is SPK or X1, right?
Or TFT.
SPK
or
bad.
TFT would take a miracle and a half to make it in. But whoever wins that game.
SPK dropped their jungler, so their top laner. Sorry.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Should we get that one to I probably get that one to X1 then, just because they
probably
haven't had a roster change.
So it's obviously not guaranteed for the other set of them to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ferocity still could do a tiebreaker. Like all of this is not guaranteed at all, which is ridiculous.
Right.
But essentially, I think Jet Black is in.
Yeah. I think so too.
For
Bottom
sure.
line, I think that they...
Stop saying that.
Yeah, I'll stop. I think that...
We want them to go through because we can pick them in the second round.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
wait, actually.
Whoa! That's
Wait a
BM.
minute. Wait a minute.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't
Okay,
say that.
so
Leaked.
the
Both
conversation...
of you assume they're gonna make the second round.
So then
Well,
our conversation can be about what we think is the third seed going to be. The conversation of is a third seed team from this division going to go far is already over. I think we all agree that they're not.
Yeah.
If a third seed team from this division wins a series, I am sorry that my analysis has been wrong, and that team is just...
Smax, that'll be a pigs flying moment.
Yeah, it would.
Right?
that would be almost as crazy as SBK Defiance making it into playoffs at this
I
point.
mean, I guess I'd want Team Fish Taco, but like you said, it's pretty hard for them to make
Yeah.
it.
TFT.
Are
I don't know.
they-
When I looked at this division, when I first looked at this division, I thought, okay, you've got Akuma Katanas going through it first, then you've got TFT going through it second. Third place will be SBK, unless something like X1 Brotherhood is really good, and I don't know who they are, or EQ Lightning, or Redhead Pirates, right? That's when I first glanced at this division. And then I look at it now, and I'm like, how the hell did we end up in this situation?
Yeah.
We got TFT in 6th place, the bottom team
Absolute
of...
dumpster fire. I
Like,
don't know.
what happened there? Like, this team was good last season. I don't know where the hell their players went.
Yeah.
Like, who have they got playing now? And then SBK, who were unbeaten in the league in division last season. Granted, that division was very strong, but like they still put out a decent fight. And then I don't know who they lost to in playoffs. Actually, I can't remember. But
They lost to
They were
Dawn
okay
Revenant,
last season.
so the finalist.
yeah, so like they were okay. Like they weren't bad. I figured
They
they
were
would at
pretty
least
bad.
make it out of the group.
They
Yeah.
were pretty bad.
they had a
You're toxic,
consistent play.
man.
They had a consistent play style though, which would
was
get
bad.
them out of this group if they could replicate. Yeah, but if they could do that this season, do you not think they could have got out like this? Group?
No, I predicted them to be the main competition for Akuma Katanas coming into
Yeah.
this.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they kept their mid AD, who I think were the best players on that team. They also kept their
Mhm.
jungler, who only played in the playoff series, but he looked like he gelled well a little bit.
Mhm.
And they got rid of their support, who I think was the worst support in all of playoffs.
Oh yeah, I remember him now. Now I
and
remember.
and they got rid of their top laner, who is now back.
Yeah.
Can we just
So-
not choose and have only 2 teams? Division?
Maybe Surprisal was the winning factor last season. That could have been it.
So
You don't know what it's
okay,
like going on behind
I
the
actually think that is true, but he can't this season because last season he was a Renekton one trick, and they removed Renekton from the game.
comms. Wait, is it coronavirus playing Renekton? Doing
He's-
well?
He's playing it a little bit. It's definitely not his main champion, because they removed him from the game. So he also, do you see the teams he's playing against?
Yeah.
He
He plays whatever the fuck he wants, dude.
Anyway,
He could play
yeah,
Orianna
I'd-
with Blade of the Ring King or something, and it would work.
Yeah.
I'd agree with putting Jet Black through. I think the second team will be probably X1, but who knows what's going to happen. This is the hardest division to predict anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like by a long way.
I'm sad that it's come to this because I really liked Shut Boomer and Orbit on Ferocity, and I had them pegged as my third team behind Jet Black. That was like 2 weeks ago, and now they've removed both of those players, and they still look like they're gonna get third, maybe. But it's really unlikely if they lose to Jet Black, which I think that they will. So
Yeah.
they're
Well, I
they're a
mean,
little bit
if-
doomed. There's gonna be a
they're gonna
tiebreaker
remove-
somewhere.
If they remove people from their team, do we really want them in playoffs, though? We're just gonna boom.
Yeah.
A bit.
I think Rough
I don't
Meats
know.
is- I
I've
think Rough
been
Meats
thinking
is
about
gonna-
removing you, Yelløw, but it's.
Alright, I'm mad out.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
Goodbye, sir.
Oh my god. All right. But yeah. So which team were you guys gonna pick? I know T just said X1. What's your pick, Yelløw?
I'm gonna revise it and go with SPK. I'm gonna put SPK going through.
You literally asking me.
It would be a miracle if neither SPK team got through into playoffs.
You're asking me which team
be
is gonna
so-
be less bad than the others right now. Look, I'm gonna root for Team TFT. I'm just gonna just go for TFT. honestly.
TFT.
TFT, please get out.
I'm gonna give it to
Good
SPK
boys.
as my third
Alright.
team.
I'm gonna go Ferocity then. I think that they. Still do it.
Mathematically, how does that work? I understand.
I don't know. I don't know.
They're just gonna get
We
in.
just don't know anymore.
If they lose to Jet Black, then they are basically out, right?
Probably.
And if they win, then Jet Black are out. So
The
that
Jet Black are probably out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how
Yeah.
it works. Wait.
Yeah,
Ferocity,
pretty
let's go,
much.
baby.
It's nailed tight. It's gonna be
really close.
It's gonna be because
Absolutely.
the 2 wins that Jet Black and Frosty have right now are because they get 3 wins in the final week, right?
Oh, okay.
From the FFs.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so close. Like these teams are literally all 7-5. We have 4 teams at 7-5 basically
Okay.
Yep, it's crazy.
right now.
I have no bias.
I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm
Right.
excited.
This always reminds me of our division last season. I think.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm just gonna
Team
revise.
Kevin.
Team
That's-
Kevin.
and,
Rest
I
in
like
peace,
that team
Kevin.
too, dude. Rest in peace.
Alright, I'll just revise then. I'll go Akumat Katanas, I'll go Ferocity Esports, and TFT afterwards.
Ooh, okay.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
this is my spicy take.
Yeah, that would be shocking.
I would be kind of worried about playing against TFT in playoffs. Actually, I think they could pull something out, maybe something crazy.
They did last week.
Mhm.
Can we talk about this for just 1 second here? TFT almost killed me on cast with how they were playing.
Like, remind me what they
What
picked.
happened?
You're gonna need to remind me what they picked.
Okay, so this was the game where they went Heimerdinger top, Lee Sin jungle, and then everything else doesn't matter. Heimerdinger,
Wait.
they played against Ferocity, and Ferocity hovered set, and then they switched to Malphite top lane, and I was just like, no, pick set instead. So the Malphite then proceeds to lose 2 turrets in 13 minutes.
Jesus.
Um,
Okay.
This could have been the game that boomed Ferocity. You know,
Probably. It probably was, if we're being completely
thinking
honest.
about it. Now
Just
I realize
team die.
Yeah.
this backstory behind the boomage. I think it makes
probably.
sense.
Azuki, who's usually their top laner, switched to jungle so that Heimerdoodles could play Heimerdinger top lane.
that's what happened.
Azuki then showed us that he is the worst Lee Sin on the planet, and
Yep.
he just had a terrible 2 games. They also beat SBK with this, by the way. But we're talking about the first game because I was casting it and I was literally dying. I was getting exhausted just laughing the entire game. If you haven't watched that VOD, you should go back and watch it because it's that was the peak of my casting career. Honestly, I should retire because that was what that game was. But the real kicker for that game wasn't that the Heimerdinger took 2 turrets in 13 minutes. It was that they then got Rift Herald, and they had the Rift Herald. There was 3 members up top lane, and they were like, we could use this Rift Herald for a pressure play. Let's toss it up top lane. And Ferocity commits 4 members to a singular Mountain Drake. They all are there in the Mountain Drake pit while the Rift Herald is summoned top lane. And I'm on the cast. I'm like, all right. So SBK or not SBK, Ferocity's got a recall because there's a Rift Herald in their base. They don't. They keep all 4 members in the Drake pit the entire time, and they lose both Nexus turrets to the Rift Herald at 18 minutes.
Crazy.
The
Crazy. TFT got
I
lucky.
think I've seen. Oh yeah, I saw this game actually.
Okay, can I revise?
Oh yeah, that
my
was the worst
later-
fucking match I've seen ever.
Can I revise my earlier statement? No.
Yes, you can. Because
SBK bad. Let's just rewind. SBK bad.
SBK watched that game, then they went into their game against TFT, didn't ban Heimerdinger, and then lost the exact same way.
Tragedy.
SBK so bad.
That's crazy, man. I saw those games.
Yeah.
The decisions these guys
Is
make.
it?
I don't
Do they have the?
understand.
Well, I wonder. Do they have the same coach for both SB13s?
That's what I'm thinking because they were
Like, there must be something wrong with it. Like, no
they were
fair.
like the only 2 teams that were still picking Sejuani, and they were blind picking Sejuani.
Yeah. And I'm not someone to either like I hate shit talking coaches because I think coaches have really like hard. It's really hard to make a big impact as a coach. Like sometimes.
Yeah.
But because sometimes it's just the cards that you're dealt. But like when there are errors that are so consistent, those are where the coach can shine. Like if the coach can fix those errors, it's not about making people. It's very hard to like make people a lot better. but it's the easiest things to do is to find like the consistent issues and fix them.
Yeah.
And like these are consistent issues, so I wonder like if there is a coach, what's he doing? Like, you know, like
especially because I
this is
think their main problem is their draft. A
Yeah.
lot of the time, their drafts are just terrible. They just don't draft
against
any
us,
damage.
I think they just conceded against us. Like they jinxed Tom Kench.
Yeah.
Like first 2 picks of the draft, and I knew it was already.
Wasn't that LC?
This was
Avengers?
last. No, I think this was definitely SPK.
Yeah, it was SPK.
This was immediately after they lost to Tempest, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Really?
It's just. Yeah, it was right after they lost to Tempest. It's true.
Yeah.
Oh man, SPK. What happened?
Oh well. Let's go to the last.
Yeah, let's
division, shall we?
let's move to Rebirth Division. So we've got our locked in teams, I would say. There's an asterisk there, and the asterisk is because Famous Snowflakes are currently at 6-6, and they could potentially win both of their games and then tiebreaker with OTA Glacials, which is the exact same scenario as SPK, Defiance, and Imperial Knights. Also, OTA Glacials is significantly better than Famous Snowflakes, and they're still in control of their destiny because they still have 2 games to play. So if OTA wins any of their games next week, then it's over. They're already locked in. So, much less exciting, I think. Also, I'm pretty sure that Famous Snowflakes are not going to be fielding Tanzo and Young Mid. I heard that.
They might be doomed then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're doomed. Even
they're the saving graces of this team.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
All Flame.
Tonzo could have had a
Only
great.
Flame.
Tonzo tried out for top lane for Sentra, but didn't work out.
Just gonna make
He
it.
could have had it great, dude. He could have had it great.
He really could have. I think he looks totally lost on this team. His team just does not help him at all. And Young Mid's macro is terrible, but his mechanics are really good. Young Mid would be right at home for Soulbound Tsunami, by the way. So
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Young Mid pulls a nutty 9 and
I don't. Is that allowed?
into
I thought we
playoffs.
have rules about cross team affiliation. Yet I hear about all these players swapping teams.
I mean,
Yeah.
Sir Rizel is playing for SP Gambers, whereas last
There
week
are
he
rules,
played on LC. So I really don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, Yelløw, you want to go play for another team and assassinate just accidentally throw.
I like to win. Yeah.
Essentially, start sending out these spies into other teams.
Yeah.
Oops.
It's really funny because on Lost Collective Avengers, Sir Rizel still had his SPK profile picture. So I think
isn't Trigger on Element 5 as well?
Yes, yeah.
So I don't really know how that's working out.
Yeah.
Because they're in the same division as well, aren't they?
That's a different Element 5 team, but
Oh, I see.
it's still the same brand, yeah.
Okay, well.
But yes, Trigger is on that. He's on Element 5. He's even got it in his name. Speaking of Trigger, he won both his games on Go Next Gaming.
The savior of Go. Oh, actually, no. There was Kiba was the savior of Go Next Gaming, but
You think it was Kiba?
No.
Kiba's
Okay,
played so
because
bad.
we were about to have a problem if you thought it was
Okay,
Kiba.
no. Okay, I have unfair bias towards Kiba and Seawolf because they were both on Ascension teams in the past. Well, an Ascension team as my bot lane in the past, so I love them both together.
Yeah.
And it was a flashback to see them playing together, which was nice. But Kiba's a bit rusty.
Yeah, from what I've seen, he's not playing very well at all. Like Jesus Christ, man.
But and this is, I don't know how to say this, but this is no flame to Tron. I think he's great, but I thought Trigger was a bit of an upgrade in the mid lane for them. So if he sticks around, it might be really, really good for Go Next. But this is a team I think that's also super punishable.
Yeah. This is their first 2-0 week in the past 3 weeks. They went 1-1 the past 3. So not a good week. I also think that they would have lost to OTA Glacials had Axum not lost power. So
yeah, that's really
worth
tragic
noting.
actually.
Yeah.
Because that looks like it happened at minute 1.
Yes, it did.
Which is really sad.
Yeah, it is very, very sad.
Yeah. Well, and they had Nutty 9 playing as well.
Yeah, so Nutty actually looked pretty good. Not gonna lie. Even in the game that was a 4v5, he looked pretty good. But specifically against Original, pretty solid play. But he is now the starting mid laner, by the way. Walls is done. So it's only Nutty.
I think Nutty and Atenio I don't know. They're both solid, so I think their team can play through them both. With a top laner, that helps. But yeah, they're a pretty solid team. I think it's a pretty good upgrade. We'll see how it goes in the next week. But
Considering they played without Axum and still beat Original, I think that was a really good showing from them.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
they just stuck a Maokai player up there. It worked.
Honestly, I've been saying this. Maokai's kind of sleeper champion.
I agree. I've been playing him support. He's pretty good.
Sliding under the radar. I mean, anything with a point and click CC in Season 10 is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And there are a few things that have that now. But yeah.
Yeah, there's Maokai, there's... I mean, let's not go over the whole list. But Pantheon's really big. Also, Aphelios has
one of the reasons why Ryze was so dominant in competitive play for so long was because he had the immediate W into, which was a root, right?
Yep.
And now that he's got an EW, a slight difference is like one of the things that makes Ryze slightly worse, right? But
yeah.
The fact that he had that made him good, and that's what Maokai has, which not many other champions do anymore.
So, and he goes on target, which is pretty nice. Yeah, I think Maokai's good. I agree. Especially with the Bambi Cinder.
Is OP. Sunfire Cape is also OP, so...
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Totally.
And so is Stoneplate as well.
Stoneplate. Everyone's building Stoneplate now.
Yeah,
I'm about to build it on 80 carry, dude.
I have built it on 80 carry.
Really? How did it feel?
It felt like I died less.
Really?
It's kind of like... So, it reminds me of old GA. Do you remember? Which was a Chain Vest and a...
No
Megatron.
magic. It wasn't a full Megatron.
And you could build that on 80 carry when you really needed it, and like, it's not dissimilar, to be honest. Like on Vayne, no lie, on Vayne you can build Stoneplate, and it doesn't reduce your damage because it's doing true damage.
Right. No, it's mostly lower range champions though. So Vayne, Kai'Sa, stuff like that, I guess. But
anyway, I'm not advising everyone go and build Stoneplate on 80 carry.
Oh, yeah.
Just so you know, but
you heard it here first. If you are not building Stoneplate on Vayne, you are trolling.
Triple lift, get on it, dude.
If you are against a team that is going to hard dive you, then a Stoneplate isn't too bad, okay? It's like old GA. But anyway, or you could just buy an actual GA and...
You could
yeah. I think
or like Phantom Dancer. But yeah. I agree. I agree with all that. But anyway, for Rebirth Division here, Go Next, they are still looking very shaky, I will say. It's still looking... Their trajectory is not very good, I will say, as opposed to the last split where they only lost to Akuma Blades and subsequently Dawn Revenant in the playoffs, but they beat every single other person with no problem. So
I think they're one of the less convincing first place teams.
I think, and this is no flame either. I like Go Next, big fans of all of them. But if B-Way gets his shit together, this team will be good. But he is so coin flip as a player that it makes the games so scary when they don't need to be.
He's
like there are games where
really rough.
There are games where they've already won the game, like just based off the game state. Like they don't have to do anything to win this game, but it's like he just can't keep his dick in his pants. Sorry, excuse my French. He can't keep his in his pants, and he just kind of gets too excited and makes the game losable from a position that it shouldn't be, which makes me worry. But if he gets his shit together in that department, I think that'll be really good. Because B-Way is a great player. Like he builds his own advantages, he builds his huge leads, and once he does that, if he then just turns it back a bit, instead of trying to keep farming champions, he starts going to farm enemy jungle camps or something. Just turn it down a little bit. He'll be really good.
Yeah, it's a really, I think it's a really bad meta for him, and it's a really interesting meta that he has to adapt to because top lane is much less independent with the addition of the Rift Herald being actually good. And there's two of them, and there's also Bambi Cinder, which is not buildable on Irelia. And Akali's gone. You can't play Akali anymore. He can try, but it's not going to be as good.
This man needs to learn how to play Maud, Ornn, Set, and Aatrox, and then it'll be fine. But if he's not playing those 4 champions, he's griefing his team. Yep. Unfortunately.
I agree. Irelia just doesn't cut it anymore. And Akali is gone. So, I agree.
But I'm looking at this draft right now, and like this guy 13 picked Jax into Irelia.
Yes.
I feel like if he just picked Mordekaiser there or something, there's no way they lose. Like,
can we just not talk about the Badis, please?
Let's avoid talking about the Badi.
Jesus Christ, man.
Too little, too late.
They're actually just a meme.
They are too little, too late in my book.
They are mathematically eliminated, by the way. Even though they are 6-6, they do not have. They are 0-2 against OTA Glacials. So even if they do win both and OTA loses both, then they're still out. So that's why we're not going to talk about them anymore.
Yeah,
but
that's a good
OTA
thing.
Glacials could be really good in playoffs. I think Original also. I think Go Next also if they sort out their problems. But if they don't, they're not going to get as far as they otherwise would.
Yep.
But how's it going to look for the final week? Are there any deciders?
Not really, actually. The main deciders were last week.
So is there going to be tiebreakers then?
There likely will be. If Go Next and Original both go 2-0, then there will be a tiebreaker.
Okay.
If one of them loses one and OTA goes 2-0, then there will also be a tiebreaker for second.
Okay. So we're likely going to see a tiebreaker in this group then?
Very likely. Yep. Very, very likely.
Yeah. Okay, well that would be really good to watch then, I think.
Yeah.
If you're a fan tuning in, I reckon that's a game you should probably tune into because.
Yep.
Yeah,
but
especially if you're one of the third or second place teams in your division, because these will be teams that will most likely you might be able to choose, or you might be able to, or you might end up playing against in playoffs. So yeah, I'd highly recommend looking at them games.
It's also very interesting because the first seed team in this division is very likely to be last pick for quarterfinals. So if you are a higher seed or a more competitive team in your division and you're a second seed, so it'd be Soulbound Tsunami or LC Gladiators most likely. You're gonna have to watch for whichever team gets first seed because you're probably gonna play them.
I feel bad for the third seed of Saturday Division while we're on this discussion because they're gonna have to play against probably Akuma Katanas, right? Oh no, they're gonna have to play against Aether probably.
Yeah, they're never gonna see Akuma Katana.
They might actually play against us actually.
So yeah, the third seed team.
It could be Jet Black versus Essentia in round.
If you lose round 1, then you don't see any first seed teams ever.
True, actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
But,
so if you're a lower third seed team, then you're probably going to be playing against the Rebirth Division team, and that's bad news for you. It would also be bad news to play a Thursday Division team. Like the third seed in Friday and Saturday, pretty rough. Pretty rough.
Yeah. So it's Original or Go Next Gaming gonna
actually,
finish
ours could be still could be anything. Like if we lose to Imperial, it could be us in third seed, right?
True.
Yeah.
So
true.
Could be spicy.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's gonna be a really, really fun week to watch. This is the last one before playoffs. So yeah. Then the big action begins as well. The cross division play. I'm always super excited for that. But yeah,
I'm looking forward to really analyzing these matchups. To be honest, a lot of the matchups in playoffs.
So
it makes things like the podcast slightly easier too, because you know exactly who's playing who, and you know exactly how the team's going to match up.
Exactly.
So,
the one team we haven't really mentioned here is Original.
I think they're the best team in this division.
I agree.
By a good margin. They play very well as a team.
I think they're the best because their matchup against OTA I think is good. But I say that and they lost OTA. So actually, you know what? I don't agree. I think OTA is the best team in this division.
I think really. I'm still gonna give it to Go Next in this division.
Wow, we're all split.
I disagree so much with this.
No, I think Seawolf is dynamite on this team, and I think if they keep Trigger and Seawolf and Bichon and Beware fixes his problems, they're a really, really good team. Because Kiwi is also pretty solid too, and he does what an AD carry should do, which is carry the late game, right? He can do that. So if they fix that glaring issue, then they'll be really, really good.
And they need to fix Kiba's leading.
I don't think Kiba's
not
playing.
He's not going to play.
Anymore.
He was only.
Wait, I'm retarded. Wait.
Well, actually, he might be playing next week because this week Kiwi had a little incident in Solo.
It's Kiwi. You're right. Wait, never mind. Kiwi's pretty solid.
Pretty sure Kiwi is back for this week.
Okay, yeah, I could agree with
he back for this
GN.
week? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I could agree with Go Next Gaming first then.
Is he going to be playing on a different account then, or?
I think he's playing on GN Kiwi. I think.
Okay.
I forgot.
I know he had a little incident in Solo Queue, so.
Nobody has these.
Happens to the best of us.
Never happened to me.
Yeah.
Ever.
I'm currently also on a 0, so
Yeah.
feels bad.
But I'm gonna stick with my order of OTA original go next. That's my order.
I'm gonna put original at the bottom actually. I'm gonna do go next, OTA, and then original. I think.
I'll go original OTA and go next.
The reason isn't I know George is still a jungle from playing against him a lot with the Odyssey League team.
Yeah.
I don't think he's very good. I think he's really, really bad.
I think he is.
But maybe that's a bit of personal bias.
I think he's the best Jarvan in the league, but he's not the best anything else in the league.
Yeah, don't know.
That's my short version. Long version is I mostly agree with you though. I think Kalandini is the best mid in this league, in this division though. Not the league, but I think he's the best mid in this division. My number one mid, by the way, is one Fancy Italian.
Really?
That's my number one mid.
Yeah, I do think Fancy on a high is very, very good. He has his ends moment, but everyone has those, I think. But yeah,
Fancy just plays on the edge of what should be allowed, which is good. I think that's what you need to do at this level.
Yeah.
If you actually want to get better as a player, and you're in Diamond, you need to be pushing yourself to the limit of what you are capable of, and finding that limit. And sometimes he'll cross it, but that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do to be a good player, because you need to find out where the limit is. And if you're someone who's just trying to farm in Diamond, you're probably doing it wrong. Because if you're just trying to survive in a Diamond lane, then how are you going to play against a Challenger Master tier player?
So you're telling me I can run it down, right? Like I'm testing my limits right now.
No,
in solo.
That's not what I'm telling you. Bot lane's different.
Okay.
2 people.
Okay. So me and Laxon.
Yeah. No, Laxon can run it down, but you can't.
Oh, okay.
That's how bot lane
already
works.
happening, So.
Well, AD carry is slightly different because you're so weak in the early game that you need to AD carry's strength is in the the late game. If you can perform
minion hitting department.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be good at that, and then you'll get there.
Because on paper, AD carry outscales everything else, so it's a different playstyle. Like if he was playing Kassadin, I wouldn't tell him to run it down mid every game. Push your limits on Kassadin, because that's not how you play the champion. But it's different,
Yeah.
Yep. All right, I think we're about done with this division. Let's touch on Famous a little bit. Let's assume that Tanzo and Young Mid are playing. So, say that they beat OTA. You know what? No, I don't want to talk about this. Never mind. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Are they mathematically out?
They're not mathematically out, but
I don't think they make it.
I don't think they're
assuming they don't have Tanzo and Young Mid, I think they're out. Let's talk about to say that.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I think assuming they have Tanzo and Young Mid, they're still out.
Well,
okay.
All right.
Should we get to the questions then?
Yeah, let's move over to the questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a few. Some of those were we mentioned them a little bit during the division talk, but we still got a few. We've got one from Steel City Warrior. What team that's not an expected first seed team is most likely to win the entire tournament? So,
good question.
So
it's a fishing hook, that one. I know what he's fishing for. I don't think he's gonna get it.
Not so bouncing them.
My answer is whoever gets second seed in Rebirth Division.
Is that the Thursday division?
No, that's Sunday.
Oh really? Division or OTA? Not for me.
I actually might agree with that.
I'm gonna give it to Akuma sides.
Yeah,
I think if X-Fluke is playing and they get third or second seed, I think they're a lot better.
That's a good answer.
Like way better than they've been all season. I'm gonna give it to Akuma sides.
Yeah. The reason I say that is because I expect OTA to get second seed. Yeah. Well, it's really tough for them too at this point. But I would expect if they do get second seed that they'd be my pick. If they don't get second seed and they're third seed, then I guess I can't choose them, and then at that point I suppose that I would. Oh wait, no, it doesn't have to be a second seed team. It's just a team that's not expected first seed.
Someone's gonna go for SC Gladiator, but I don't think their bot lane is good enough.
I think because what the nice thing for Akuma sides is that if they are third seed, they won't have to play LC or Aether until very late on. So if you think about the teams that they'll be coming up against, like if they get to quarters, they'll probably play against either us or Go Next, right?
Yes.
They could still play Akuma Katanas.
Yeah,
that would be crazy.
Yeah, but then you have to ask yourself, would Akuma Katanas choose Akuma sides? Because they'll have selection.
They would. They would get
at 12 and 1.
They probably
would. I don't think they would choose Akuma sides. So then they would probably be against us or Go Next Gaming. In which case, I would give it to. It'll be a good game if it's us. But if it's going to Go Next, I'd probably give it to Akuma sides. And then that would also put them. I would
too. Yeah,
I think that would also put them in the semis against the team that isn't Akuma Katanas, which would also probably be either us or another division, the first division team.
I'd also go for Akuma sides or OTA, actually.
I think if you just look at the fact that they're in the Thursday division, so they have an easier run into the finals, I think it gives Akuma sides a better way of winning the whole thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I can agree with that.
I'm gonna stick with OTA because I'm really high on that team. I think they're quite good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nutty 9.
Fair enough.
Shout out to the
Nutty 9 has he got the best playoff run though? Does it Nutty 9 have the best playoff run? That's the question.
All right, but yeah, I think both are.
Skip over that comment.
Both are valid answers. Can you check if there are any other questions, by the way, Yelløw, before we do anything else?
No, I put everything in there.
Okay, sweet.
Will triple if carries? We've already done that one.
Yeah, we've done that one. Okay, so from Akuma Katana's support forbidden, worst/best roster moves of the split. So I'm gonna take this as mid-split changes rather than going into the split changes, because there are only like 3 teams that could even be mentioned.
I was gonna say Yelløw to Essentia, but I guess not.
Yeah, well,
X-Fluke onto thing, is that something we're allowed to talk about? Is that really a move, or is that?
Yeah, that's a move.
Is that count? Okay, I think that's a really big change for Akuma sides. Yeah. I think another one is bringing Diesel in for us, and I know this is like something that we're still getting used to playing with him, but he's a really huge addition for Essentia Storm.
Yeah,
like having an all-out top laner has made a huge difference for us. And I think Diesel has yet to show his true talents, but he's a really, really good player. And he's got 400 games of Ornn this season, so he's already like that's already a massive plus. That's already a massive plus.
True.
So I think Diesel's a big change.
Yeah.
Worst roster move for Osti. Should we talk about them?
That's fair. So are you going to do your best and worst, and then we'll move it to the next person? We can do that.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine.
Just taking it on. But yeah, I would give my worst to Frosty, getting rid of Orbit and the other guy.
And shut Boomer, the top laner.
Yeah.
That's a stupid move. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah. And my best would actually be us picking up Diesel. I think Diesel's huge.
Nice.
Yeah,
all right, Yelløw, you can go next.
I don't know about the worst, but I do know. Okay, I flame Jet Black all the time, but I think their top and mid moves helped them a lot, because we look at the start of the season, they just started with losses nonstop, right? Their old mid laner was Mitch, if I'm not mistaken. He's a good friend of mine, so I'm not gonna flame him at all. I think he's a good player. Maybe he didn't fit the needs of his team, and I think that's something that happens. But I definitely think Hiccup and whatever. Rob?
Yeah,
Rob. Hit him up, Rob. Okay, yeah. This guy. That was a very good move for them. Turned around this season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the worst, I honestly don't know enough about the roster moves to say what was the worst.
That's fair. So my best is actually also Jet Black. I think it's really close between that and X-Fluke to mid for Akuma, but I think the difference between X-Fluke and Akata is smaller than the difference between the Jet Black solo lanes and their replacements.
Maybe fair, yeah.
Yeah, Jet Black, they look significantly better with Hiccup and Hit 'em Up Rob.
And that's not even to say that these players were bad. It's just sometimes communication, sometimes it just doesn't fit as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the players themselves individually are bad. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I agree. As for worst move, that one's a lot tougher for me.
Nutty 9 onto.
I think he's better than Waltz. I think he's better than Walls.
We're smooth kicking Deku from SPK.
Oh yes.
There we go.
Is that
there
the
you
worst
go. I got
one?
one.
That was pretty bad. The worst one. Okay, I've got it. The worst one is Wolfpack allowing Kaz to leave, aka Anarch.
Okay.
That one's mine. It wasn't really on Wolfpack, but from their perspective, that's the worst one, I think.
That's fair enough.
Because I think Anarch is pretty good.
Yeah.
And he was definitely the most consistent in a good way players on that team. There's certainly another consistent in a bad way player, but we'll we'll skip over that for now. Okay, so our next question is from Go Next Seawolf. He's the support for that team. Should Seawolf pull out Thresh or Pyke this week in PRL, and would it be worse or better than Forbidden's Tom Kench? I'm gonna say no. You probably shouldn't do that.
Seawolf, no. I think stick to Braum and Alistair, buddy.
And Leona, I guess.
Yeah, Braum,
specifically, please don't do Pyke, because I don't think that would go well.
Pyke is fun to watch, though.
Yeah.
Rarely works, but hey, it's fun.
One good thing about Pyke, though, Seawolf, is that you buy this thing called Umbral Glaive, and it's really good because it can you do more damage to wards, and wards are your weakness. So maybe this will be something that would help you out. I personally think that maybe if you started building Umbral Glaive on Alistair, that you would actually be a much better player. I don't know if you would agree with this or not, but I think that'd be a really good move. You could also start building Umbral Glaive on Braum. I also think that would be potentially viable for you because it would help you clear more wards without dying.
Yeah. All right, and then for the follow-up, would it be worse than Forbidden's Tom Kench? No, it wouldn't. It'd be really hard to do that. Sorry, Chris, but you did go 0-10 on Tom Kench. that was definitely a rough moment here for Akuma Katanas, but you hopefully learned
best
from
bot lane
it,
in PRL.
Yeah, let's move to that. from Eris. So Eris is the one of the players or previous player. I don't know on Soulbound Tsunami.
Player manager of Soulbound Tsunamis.
Yeah.
So I have two, potentially three.
Do it.
I have two bot lanes. I would put in.
Just do it out three, honestly.
Okay. So
don't need an order.
My top three. Just going down the divisions. So it's not ordered at all.
Yep.
I've got Caliburn and Curry on Aether.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Lax and Yelløw on Essentia. And I have Atinio Merc on OT Glacials.
Interesting.
The reason that I don't put Katana's bot lane on is because they very rarely play through bot lane.
Mm-hmm.
They're very stable as a bot lane, but that's just not the lane that they play through. So I'm not gonna put them on the top three, but I think they are still very good. So those are my top three. As for who's the best of those, here, do you guys agree with that or no?
I agree with. I'm not going to comment on my own team because that's not fair. But I definitely agree with Aether being on there. I think Aether are really, really good as bot lane. I hyped up Jack a lot, and I also will continue. Yeah, I'd happily do that more. I think they're really, really good. I think the only problem with this team is that they are very passive in the early game. And if Jack does fall behind, it can be difficult. But he's very good at not falling behind and coming into the late game regardless of anything that's happening. So.
Yeah. So what did you put? Atinio Merc. What's the other one?
Yeah. So I had Atinio Merc, Caliburn Curry, and then Yelløw Laxon. So
yeah. I guess you see more than I. Better in what bot lanes are doing good, but yeah, I don't think me and Laxon in lane are that good. I think we do a good job in team fights though as a duo.
That's fair.
I do agree with.
Well, it's similar because I don't think Caliburn and Curry are necessarily the best laning duo either.
Okay, well that's fair, I guess.
They're still good at laning though. I want to put that out there.
Yeah, I do agree with Atinio Merc. I would have put Caliburn and Curry, and what's the third one I wanted to put?
I had one that you not been mentioned yet, and it's a bit of a. It's one that's only played.
Indigo and Doctor is one I wanted to put actually.
Yeah. I think
had
Doctor
an
Doctor doesn't
off-split.
play as a duo. He just plays as an individual.
I think they've had an
I mean-
off split so far. But under the
Wait, I don't
circumstances of last split, they
The
would
one
be at the top.
I had that
'Cause
is, they've only played one. Sorry, I'm like interrupting you.
No, it's
Yelløw
okay.
here, but
It's okay.
they've only played one game together. But Steel City and Havoc together in the bot lane. They played one game versus us the first time we played against them, and they shit on us. They were really, really, really good together as a duo. They
I think
played
it's
Lucian
because,
hard, and they took over the game.
I
think it's
wasn't
because
there.
those are their two players. Their
Yeah.
two best players.
Very
Yeah,
important.
but when they were together in the bot lane, it was good. So,
Okay. That's
Maybe-
a
maybe
little
that'll
bit
be
of a
that'll be a
loophole,
challenge.
but
But
Yeah.
I would hands down give it to Aether. I think their bot lane is really, really, really strong.
I am gonna give it to Aether too. Like I
Jackson
said,
player, I would love to coach.
yeah. I said, I think their
No
laning
offense,
is.
Yelløw. I love to coaching.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
sure.
their laning is their
Just-
weak
I know,
point,
yeah.
but it's still really good. So, like, I think that
he's looking for a team.
I think their team fights in mid game
No.
are so good that that is their strong point. Their laning is their weak point, but their laning is still premier
Mhm.
in this
Mhm.
in this league as a whole too. So that's not really meant. That's not meant as an insult at all.
I think if you removed Aether's bot lane, they would be a not so hot team, to be honest. So I think that's why I'd give it to them.
Yes, I agree. Mostly because Caliburn is the one who does their drafts,
Yeah.
and their drafts are really
Wow.
good. So,
Mhm.
yeah. All right, I agree. Is this question also from Eris? Yelløw?
Which one?
The bottom
Yes.
one.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is.
So Eris also asks, what is the player with the weirdest champion pool? Obviously, the correct answer is Triple Lift.
That's worst.
Okay, yeah, yes, worst champion pool. That's
It's
not
weird
weirdest.
too.
That's a
Okay,
weird one.
that's fair.
Who's played
Weirdest.
something crazy?
Okay, my pick is
Oh.
I have a few picks for this because I think there's a lot of players with really weird champion pools. One of them is SPK Amber's Sleepily. He's played
Two
like
champions. So
Nico, Malzahar. He hasn't actually gotten a Zoe game yet, I don't think. Nico, Malzahar, Lissandra, Karma. Like, I don't know how he got to Diamond playing these champions in solo queue. And if he
That's a
didn't,
mystery.
then he should play the champions he did play in solo queue in this, because it would look way better. Because all these champions are so weird.
Like this team
Why?
is stuck in the wrong season. Like they're playing Sejuani
Yeah.
blind pick.
Oh, he played
Lissandra.
Ziggs too. He picked Ziggs.
Oh, but Ziggs is kind of sleeper. Though.
Ziggs is
Ziggs is
I
okay,
think.
but next to everything
Ziggs-
else, he adds on to the weird,
Ziggs-
I think.
Ziggs is my up and coming pick at the moment in terms of champions. He got a huge buff last patch with the extra 10 damage, the increased knockback, and the extra damage on his E as well,
slow
and
on
the slow increase.
Yeah,
Like he got so many buffs at once, and he was never like terrible either.
yeah.
And like since plates came out, Ziggs has always been like slightly better with the tower demolishing.
He's like a mini Rift Herald.
Yeah, well, yeah, and now there are 2 Rift Heralds, and you have Ziggs. Like it's kind of he's actually really good now. So if you're not
he's
thinking
okay.
about this champion, you should be.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I think he's severely underrated, but still not top tier.
Mhm.
I think he's like kind of a trap in a way. He does a lot of damage. But he
Actually,
doesn't do-
I know my player for this now. It's gonna be Corksucker. Oh, sorry.
Backwood Kid
Backward. Sorry,
is
that's
his
the one.
PRL
that
name.
good kid.
Sorry. So he has played, I think, Ornn, Bard, Gragas, and GP. I think maybe some other stuff as well. But
Yeah.
He's got the weirdest champion pool.
He's
if you were to
a
look at the
fill player,
games he played.
but yes, I agree. When he
Yeah, I think it's
plays
gotta be-
support, he's a Bard one trick, which is also kind of true of Core Havoc.
Yeah.
Core Havoc
he
still
plays
looks
Pike pretty well.
Yeah, Core Havoc still looks good on other champions, but
Yeah.
his Bard is his best pick, I think, which is really
Yeah.
weird. There's 2 Bard players on that team. Whatever.
Yeah. We talked about Ares as well. He's a sport player who played mid for the team.
Yeah.
He played Galio, he played Karma, and he played Nihilus bot. It just this team is just. I guess they're stabilized now, so it's not that bad. But early in the split, man,
Yeah.
Jesus,
Oh,
you could never know what was going on.
I actually know what my pick is. It's
Oh,
100%
tell me.
locked in. I know what it is. It's Daily Peach. The
I don't know
lethality
what
Vi one trick.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. That takes the cake for me as well.
That's my pick.
That takes the cake, I think.
Yeah.
Nothing to beat
Honestly,
that.
worse. Honestly.
Oh my. Oh, he also played a game of Diana Jungle, which doesn't help.
True.
But yeah, the lethality Vi. Why?
It's Metroid, right? Metroid plays the lethality.
Yeah. Gives you by one trick.
It's like Challenger.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it's very good.
No, it's not.
I think Aftershock Vi is really good. Though.
Yeah.
What I really
Like,
want to see.
Vi is another champion, like same as Maokai, I mentioned earlier, where you have a point and click CC, and like the value of that is so high.
Yeah, she's gonna be good
I
in
think-
some situations.
Yeah, I
There's
think
no
Vi
doubt.
is a champion that could get by.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can we get a bot lane of triple lift and Emma? You just can't win at all. You just can't win a draft, actually.
Kind of true.
I haven't played Vi in so long. I'm gonna go play Vi right after this.
Do you
Like, I actually,
You're gonna be
now I'm thinking about
underwhelmed.
it. I don't know. Point and click CC.
just play
I think
Graves, bro.
she's pretty bad.
Stick to Graves. It's okay.
Stick to Graves.
All right.
I'm waiting for the buffs, dude. I'm waiting for the Graves buffs.
Well, that exhausts our questions here, but I do want to bring this up another time because we've got different guests, and I think it's a very exciting topic. I'm gonna ask you guys what your top 4, aka who do you have in the semifinals, from like every division. So just
Okay.
top 4. You can order it. You can just have it as top 4 if you want. But yeah.
Okay.
Give me yours, and then I'll round it out.
Okay, I think I've got mine written up already.
I don't.
Okay, I have Akuma Katanas. I have Aether. I have Akuma Sides, and then us, Essentia.
Huh.
Is that ordered?
No, that's just my
Okay.
semi-finalists.
Nice. All right.
Okay.
Akuma Sides is you also picked all A teams. Nice.
It just happens to be that way, like the
Yeah.
the 18.
That's really interesting. So Akuma Sides. Wow. This is
Yeah,
this is
'cause I think-
completely unaffected by your
So-
OL series.
No.
But
this is-
it's a lie. Wait.
No, but this is because I mean, partially so. I mean, they picked up a new jungler, a new mid laner. The two same guys who won the season last split.
Yep.
Now coming back into the team, and I already mentioned earlier in the podcast how they have, in my opinion, the easiest run to the finals, or at least the semifinals, because they're going to be up against probably, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday divisions,
one's
which
gonna wanna
aren't as
pick
good
them.
as their division.
Right.
Yeah, I just think they have a huge advantage in that regard. I think Akuma Katanas also are going to have probably the best record, so they're going to pick someone pretty. They pick out of the round 1 winners, so they're going to have an advantage going into the semis. And then Aether, I think All Out are a really solid team, so I think they're going to do well. The teams that I skipped out were a lot of the Sunday teams, so Original, OTA, and Go Next. I don't think any of those will go through. I just think they'll have a rough time. I mean, they could. There's a chance they could get in, but I think for me they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because I got to make space for Sancho, otherwise it's just it doesn't work, you know.
Yeah. All right. Yelløw, do you have yours?
I have Original Esports, Kamakatanas, Aether Esports, and us, actually. I did skip actually Go Next. What's the other one I was talking about? OTA. But I think are both pretty good teams, but are gonna get outclassed in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's a solid top 4.
Okay.
I don't know how things will shape up. I'm very excited to see, but I don't think the Soulbound guys are probably gonna at me, but I'm sorry, boys. You have to wait.
To be fair, for me, they're 5th place. If they,
I mean, they have 2 best of 5s to play.
Yeah, if they let me pick their roster for them, if they go with Steel City top, if they let me.
So basically, okay, Soulbound is top 4 with T as a coach.
Yeah, if they go with, I don't think one of them has be very happy because he'd be the first one I'd bench. But
Yeah.
You go with Steel City, you go with Turtle, and then you go North, Noah, and Havoc. I think they've got a really good team if they go like that, because I think they can play slower and they don't need to rush.
Yep.
And that's when I think that team could look really good. But at the moment, they're 2 coin flips. They're not going to win against a few best of fives if they keep playing with their current roster.
I agree. I definitely agree. All right.
They'd have to win 2 best of fives to get through to this point. And I don't see them doing that against even, they'd lose to OTA, they'd lose to Original, and those are teams that I'd cut out and go next. So they'd lose to those 3, and I didn't include any of those, so I can't justify including Soulbound.
Yeah. All right. Same. Okay. So.
What about you, Smax? You got to make one without Ascension. Yeah.
Without Ascension?
No.
All right, go. I'll do it without Ascension then.
No. You can include it. I mean, if you want to include us, you can.
So.
Actually, let's just for the sake of it, let's say that you can't include us.
Okay, I won't. I'll order it too, to make it more interesting, because I've been ordering it every time. So number 1, I'm gonna put Akuma Katana still. Number 2, I'm gonna have Aether. Number 3, which actually changed from last time. I had Aether at 3rd last time. Number 3, I'm gonna put OTA Glacials. And then 4, it's really close. I'm gonna put Original. I'm gonna put Original 4. I was debating between them and Essentia, and also
well, you weren't allowed to put us in, that's why you didn't.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. This is smart.
I was debating on saying it anyway. But
it's hard to pick another team.
Original and Soulbound would be fighting for that spot for me. Yeah. If I couldn't pick Essentia.
Obviously.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, for those of you listening, I did bump Aether up. They were my 3rd last time. So for what that's worth.
My 4 are
right.
I think once you get to semis, it'll be really, really interesting, and I don't think you can.
No, yeah,
I think it'll be about how they match up against each other.
Yeah, there will be a definitive 1, 2, 3, 4, but if the matchup between the 1st and the 3rd place teams is more competitive than the other one, then
I'm also taking a big thing into account is that they need to have good drafts, which I think the 4 teams that I picked do have. And I also think they need to be consistent, and that's another thing. These are best of 5s now. It's no longer best of 1s. You can't just win the first draft and then hit them with something new. But now you actually have to be intelligently drafting. There's going to be a few mind games going in there too. Banning this on blue side, banning this on red side. How is it going to work? And I think that's where these 4 teams, because I know the minds behind them as well. You got Joker, Jack, and myself, and I think that'll be a good contest in the draft.
I'm really, really excited for it. Mm-hmm. Playoffs is going to be really, really fun. I'm hoping that you guys don't get reverse swept round 1 this time.
I'm here now. It's okay. We'll get 3-0.
I have a question. Do you what was my question? I forgot it now. Well, do you think that? Oh yeah. Do you think this year, if you look at those 4 teams, is better than last year? Because last year we had Go Next, Alien Invasion. Was it?
The top 4 last split were Akuma Blades, Go Next Gaming, Team Fish Taco, and Dawn Revenant.
Do you think Dawn Revenant are better than any of these teams?
No.
Do you think Team Fish Taco are better than any of these teams?
No.
I think Akuma Blades would be one of the best.
Yeah.
But I also see a bit of them in Akuma sides now, so.
And Go Next Gaming is not in our top 4, so.
Yeah.
Improvement.
And they're largely unchanged.
Right.
So I think the argument could be made that this season is actually more competitive, even though it looked like at the beginning that it wasn't than last season.
Yeah. It's funny because I think the bottom and perhaps even the middle of some divisions is significantly worse. The bottom 5 of Sunday Division is significantly worse than last Sunday Division. Same with Saturday, and Friday's about the same. And Thursday's better.
So the top teams are better. The bottom teams are worse, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good in a way.
I agree. But yeah, that's about going to do it for us here on the podcast. You guys have any closing remarks here? Anything you want to plug?
It's always a pleasure, Smax.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure for me too. I'm glad you guys.
I hope we weren't too biased towards ourselves in any way.
I don't think you were.
Hopefully, people don't tune out because of my accent.
Or mine, actually.
I like your accents.
This is the most diverse set of accents we've ever had on the podcast. So
yeah,
that's true. Yeah, everyone else has been, just pretty American.
Americans.
Yeah, I don't.
That's how they all sound to me.
I don't think we've ever really had, at least for this split, I don't think we've had anyone who wasn't just pretty American. I think that's true. You guys have shaken things up. But anyway, I'm really glad you guys got to come on. I'm glad that Essentia's locked in for playoffs as well. I really liked your series against the Kuma Blades last split. Watching it was really entertaining. I think that was the only one that went to 5 games the entire playoffs, by the way.
We were the only team, I think, that took games off the Kuma's Blades in playoffs, I think.
Recon took 1 game, and TFT also took 1 game. But the finals was a 3-0. You were the closest to defeating them, though.
Shame it wasn't a best of 3.
True. True. You guys would have clean swept them and then won the whole thing. Obviously.
Yeah,
that's how that works.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for listeing in to the week 6 episode. Be sure to tune in for next week, where we will be having the week 7 episode. That one's going to feature Atinio and Merc, the bot lane of OTA Glacials. And we're also going to have the top 20 players list. If you are a team that I mentioned in the Discord channel as being one that I would like to hear from, and you haven't sent me a list yet, please do. Because I'm looking to put everyone's list out there. Even if you don't really know players out of your own division, first of all, you can ask me for mine. I'll send you mine, my draft as right now. But also, it's totally fine. I want to hear from every division at least a little bit, so I get a bunch of different opinions. That's really what this is all about. Like people might flame you or whatever, but just know that people will be flaming me way more than you. So just know that I've already done this before. People have flamed me a whole lot, and they still haven't stopped. So
you're the lifeblood of PRL Smax.
I take all the flame in strides. So, but yeah, please do send me your list, because I'm really excited to do this for everyone. But also, there's the week 7 episode, there's the top 20 episode. I'm also going to be making a power ranking episode. So that's going to be really interesting. And that's going to be featuring all of the 12 playoff teams. So
cool.
I'm gonna be ordering every team there. So watch out for 3 episodes next week. Those are all going to be about the same time, likely released around Wednesday, as this one likely will too. But yeah, with that, that's all the stuff I've got for you. Thanks again so much for listening in. Be sure to subscribe if you want to catch us and like the notifications and everything on YouTube. We also have the announcements in our Discord channel as well, so you can know when those go live. But yeah, we'll see you all in the next time. Thanks for listening to SmaxTalk Podcast. See you later.